There is a reason this product gets mixed reviews. Now, before I dive into the details, let me clarify that this speaker system is not for the faint of heart, especially those with smaller rooms or limited musical knowledge. If you're a music enthusiast looking for a compact, high-quality speaker system or have very limited budget for home audio, then I'd advise you to look elsewhere. So, I've got my setup in a pretty decent-sized room, about 12 feet by 20 feet, with plenty of furniture and whatnot that tends to soak up low frequencies. I was skeptical that this powered subwoofer system could really deliver the goods in such an unforgiving environment, but let me tell you, it's been a real eye-opener. It's installed, the music's playing, it's quite a show, if I'm honest. I've got my music player playing a decent copy of the Led Zeppelin album that everybody loves. The sound of that first power chord on Kashmir is just incredible. No, let me correct myself, the bass response is very, very strong indeed, but it's not quite that perfectly tuned to the room, at least not yet. I find the music player does sound a tiny bit strained when pushing the limits of the speaker's ability, but that's only really noticeable if you turn it up very loud. I then switch to what I hope you'd consider a more critical test, some orchestral music. This particular piece features a huge orchestral crescendo that is just incredibly intense. I must admit, even in a room this size, it sounds absolutely stunning with this system. The dynamic range is truly quite good, and even with the most powerful passages it doesn't seem to be strained or struggling. As it happens, I've recently watched a few movies with a large, well-equipped home theater group. While I wouldn't compare their room to this one by any means, these guys are certainly not beginners and do it all the time. They were genuinely impressed by the subwoofer's ability to accurately and powerfully reproduce the low frequencies they're so used to. The bass is smooth and very well defined, and it doesn't sound at all harsh or overly aggressive, even with the loud passages. So, if you're a home audio enthusiast with a good-sized living room, this will not go amiss. I think you'll find it capable of producing rich, satisfying bass. You should really consider getting the definitive technology DN15 Subwoofer if you're into movies, particularly action pictures, where the rumble and growl of that monster roar or massive impact scene can really shake your living room. You're already running a relatively small to average-sized home theater system that needs a little more oomph to really drive those low notes home. You're into music that requires a very clear, well-defined bass response, and you're willing to sacrifice some precision in the high end to get it. One thing I do have to warn you, however, is that there's something of a learning curve to using this speaker properly. Getting it to integrate with your music player and your room acoustics can be a bit of trial and error, and adjusting the settings for optimal results can take some time. But to my mind, the overall quality of this little system and its ability to bring out the detail and power in my music collection is more than worth the effort of fine-tuning. I think it's more than suitable for anyone willing to experiment a bit. I do need to point out, however, that this speaker is definitely not at its best with low bass notes, especially if the room's acoustics are pretty average. It just can't deliver the absolute lowest end like some other speakers out there can. So, to summarize, this subwoofer is great, but not perfect. It has a lot of strengths: strong bass, good soundstage, and it can definitely bring the thunder, but there are some limitations to its performance in terms of very low frequencies, which might cause some issues for certain listeners. If you're someone who's already considered these points and is still in love with this speaker, then I'd say go for it. The performance is more than worth the slight hassle of adjusting settings for your room. Now, if you have already decided, the link below has the current price.